We are live. All right. Welcome to another episode of the iFilmmaker podcast. My name is Ariel Martinez, and today we're broadcasting once again with more than two people. Usually is myself and Mr. Saratelli, but today we're being joined with Mr. Caleb Pike of DSLR Video Shooter. What's up, buddy?
Hey, boss. How you doing?
Good,
Thanks for having
man.
me on, guys.
Definitely. We're absolutely one of those gearheads that love to talk about gear. And I'm sure from watching your videos, I could tell you're the same way. We can have these conversations for days, but let's try to keep that a little organized. Today, we're just gonna let the conversation flow. Talk about new gear, old gear, all that stuff. But before we do that, we do have a bunch of people coming in. Brandon Fountain is a regular. What's up, buddy? Good to have you here. Definitely more people coming in right now, and happy to have everyone. For those of you that are just listening to this on iTunes or SoundCloud or Google Play, it's because you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're not checking us out live. So you have to get those notifications once we go live. Keep following us there. You can go to YouTube, iFilmmaker podcast. Check that out. Today's going to be a very interesting, very fun conversation. I'm looking forward to this. Starting with, I see you drinking coffee there.
I am. Yes.
What, you're a coffee drinker?
I am. I'm a functional coffee drinker. So I'm not quite at Peter McKinnon level, who's like getting all kinds of crazy, insanely awesome drinks. I got 2 kids, so I'm a drip coffee man right now. Someday I'll go back to French press and all that good stuff, but quantity over quality these days. So.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not one of those hardcore, just get it straight from the bean. I'm one of those, Keurig coffee maker type deals, and
but a lot of it.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's some good stuff. You drink it black or you use creamer?
I'm cream and sugar.
There you go.
Light and sweet, baby.
If it's really, really nice, I'll go all black. But drip coffee, Sam's Club beans. So
awesome. All right, so tell us about yourself. Like, how'd you get started with your platform? So you have a very prominent platform, DSLR Video Shooter, but explain to us how you got there. I'm sure, obviously, all this knowledge that you're dropping on a weekly basis comes from somewhere.
Right. Mostly BSing my way to I don't know, whenever I started to legit figure things out. So the way it goes is I wanted to go to film school. This is college age, 2007, 8, 9, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And started going to I decided not to. I was going to get a business degree because that was the more responsible thing to do. And so I started taking classes at a community college, started getting the gen ed stuff out of the way, realized I could not do that. And so it was just going to kill me. There's no way I could do 4 years in school. So I finished the semester, quit college, and was like, I'll take a year and I'm just going to headlong into video. And I've always been into video, Max, editing, nerdy stuff, gaming. And so my grandfather was attending a large church. And so I just walked into their media department one Sunday morning, was like, do you guys need help anywhere? Is there anywhere I can just, because they had tons of broadcast gear. And I was like, I got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So I started volunteering there. And that's where I learned a lot of basic headroom, nose room, camera movement, tripods, broadcast signals and stuff, even though I really had zero interest in broadcast long term.
Yeah.
So started learning the ropes there, met some other people who were doing projects outside of that location, and started, helping wherever I could. And then at this roughly around the same time, the 7D came out. And I couldn't afford a 5D, even though I was drooling over it. So I bought a 7D and went from nobody on set to, holy cow, what is this? People were shooting, on broadcast cameras and stuff. And so that really forced me to learn a lot, coming from video gain, smaller sensors, to like shutter speed, ISO, aperture. What is all this about? And then I had a web background. I had run a couple like WordPress blogs and things like that, and for like techie Mac stuff. I ran a site that I unfortunately just deleted because I was bored of it, but it's called the Custom Mac a long time ago. And I had a web background, so I would create websites just out of nowhere, just in case they took off or for various interests, because I knew how to get it up quickly. Started DSLR video shooter in 2010, and then there wasn't a lot of people out there talking about the large sensor video revolution that was going down. Shane, Vincent Laforet, Shane Hurlbut, that is, Philip Bloom, and then maybe like 2 other guys were actually creating regular content online about it. So it was fairly easy to get in at that point. And I just started making content and kind of sharing. It was one of those like sharing what I was learning type things.
Right.
And during this whole time, I'm freelancing operator, editor, and here we are. Just kind of kept blowing up.
And
somehow.
Back then, did you were you married with kids?
Single, living in my grandfather's basement.
All right,
because
So you were able to take some risks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Spent way too much time doing dumb, pointless things. Yeah, exactly.
Well, what was the point that made you took off for a DSLR video shooter? What was there a certain video, or was there just a moment in time that really set you forward on that path?
For a long time, it was just slow, consistent growth, and I was really passionate about it, and still am. But when something's new like that and being super into it, I just kept working at it, creating regular content. I think like having that blog background, because I was like really into like Pro Blogger, and like this guy who is an Australian who's got some great content about growing your site and all this kind of thing. There weren't too many like huge, it wasn't like I'm trying to think of an example. There wasn't any video that like that's what put me on the map. It was just regular content. I don't think there are that many people out there covering it, or at least regularly.
So there was no like that Peter McKinnon moment where he had that one video where he did the 7 camera hacks or whatever, and he put that all over the internet.
First video,
that really took off, and then he just kept going from there. So there was nothing that, it was, again, like you said, small.
No, I had something like a baby version of that last year. A video that I never expect to take off. I was just kind of a half put together whatever. I told people I would make this, and it was like how to create, or a method for creating beautiful slider shots, kind of a retiming little hack you can do with a slider. And that kind of did that. And then the YouTube algorithm, for whatever reason, it was making them happy, and then they put it everywhere, and that really helped kind of
I think I remember that video.
I didn't even bother putting much effort into it too. And that's the thing with YouTube. You never know.
You don't know.
You never know.
You can't plot out which one's going to be the one that gets you going.
Nope.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So now you were mentioning that you don't do any more freelance work. This is full time for you now.
Yeah. Wow. And I try to remember, I need to figure out exactly when. I want to say it was like 3 years ago. That might be 4 now. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I was full-time operator, corporate kind of documentary scene in Chicago. And then started taking smaller or less tiny jobs and focusing more on the big ones. And then the site continued to grow. I was also doing web development kind of outside, stopped doing that. And it got down to where I was only taking like, 1 or 2 huge gigs a year. And then it got to the point, and I think a lot of people are like, why don't you do both? And there's a lot of people out there who are like, I'll never stop doing full-time, filmmaking or video production. I never was like a short film type guy. I was more of a operator. Documentary was more what I was into.
Right.
But it gets to a point where you got to choose which one you're going to put a bullet in. I mean, it's insane. Like Film Riot, they're still doing some amazing stuff, but that's not, they're not taking work, I would imagine, on the side, just because if you're going to continue to grow something, it gets really difficult to multitask like that.
Yeah, that was actually one of the questions that we had asked Ryan if he still takes regular client work, and basically, you know, he does. I mean, he does stuff with
Cool.
well, stuff
Not
we
in that
already
sense.
know.
Yeah.
Like he does stuff with Adobe. He'll do stuff.
Yeah.
With,
Oh, right.
It's more partner, like collaborations. Not
right.
really
So
client work.
it's all like he uses it to his advantage to, I guess, showcase what he's doing with them. You know,
Right. Exactly.
as much as he possibly can. Well, it's to that extent. So that I think that's cool, and I mean, it's a lot of fun. Must be to do that kind of stuff. Do you run DSLR video shooter by yourself, or is there other people in the background?
No, it's just me. I will be having an employee this fall, so that's going to help immensely.
So it's growing.
Yeah, so it's kind of like she'll be like a kind of a studio manager, editor, that kind of situation. So
that's
there's always that awkward space where like you can definitely use somebody, but you don't have the time to commit to like train them, and then there's the financial aspect.
Yeah,
so that's tough, but
so
that'll help a lot.
Right now, doing it by yourself, break down the timing that you spend on different aspects of it, like production wise. Like how long does it take you to shoot an episode, edit an episode, put it up there, get the information, get the links on there, etc.
It takes, obviously it's video to video is different, but I would say it's probably, if you include absolutely everything that involves one video, probably at least a day and a half, 2 days. On average, probably a full 2 days, because you got to write the thing, or at least come up with some kind of structure, shoot, edit, B-roll, voiceover, grade. And then a huge part of it is the stinking metadata, getting it up, creating a thumbnail, making sure your tags are all together. Thumbnail is
always the hardest part.
All of that is included in the day and a half to 2 days.
Yeah,
that's insane. This is where, like, people have asked me, they've asked for my advice on how to run a successful YouTube channel and all that stuff. Something that I've attempted in the past, but realizing everything that it takes to make it right. Not anybody could do it, but to do it right is where you really start separating yourself from the other people. It's literally the amount of time that you have to dedicate to that is unreal. It's unreal.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, like I've drawn this conclusion, like if they're doing it like to the level that you're doing it or film right, it's because they're not doing other work. Like that's all they're doing. Because there's no way, like Casey Neistat, like he makes all these elaborate daily vlogs, which wow, they look cool, and he's not going crazy in the edit, but even then it looks really smooth. But even for that, I can imagine how much time he spends on just that, and this is where you really have to decide. When I tell people, you have to decide, what do you want to do? Do you want to grow that? Which means for a while, you're not going to be seeing much progress, but not even until later. And even though it does get better, it's super saturated now. Like if you didn't start this back then, it's going to be hard to get going. It's not impossible, but
I'm stuck in that spot right now, Ariel, with my channel. I'm at I don't know if you've seen much of my stuff, Caleb, but I'm at like 2,000 followers. I've been doing it for almost coming up on a year, just slowly, in my downtime, nothing not like you're doing. And at first I started with 2 episodes a week. And that was going well because, between that and work, I was able to manage it. And then slowly but surely, eventually it became 1 a week. And last week was actually the first week that I didn't get an episode up at all, just because I've been so busy. I actually recorded one this morning before we got on here. So I'm excited to like put another one up sometime this week. But if you don't commit to this full time, it's just a completely different. The workflow is just insane. Like
it's a monster.
Yeah.
It's a monster.
This podcast stuff is amazing that we get to just do this and it pumps it out, that day. I love this.
So as a result of that, that's where iFilmmaker came out of. Like, I
Oh,
knew
okay,
that
yeah.
I don't want to like sit. I couldn't afford to just sit. And mind you, I'm not married and I don't have kids or anything like that. But I just could not afford to spend that much time. So I started the podcast. Let's just do this. It requires a lot less time. I do have to make thumbnails and I want to promote it. And now I'm actually trying to get a little bit more elaborate with it, with that regard. But even then, I'm trying to keep the workflow to a minimum. And I think I found a good balance with this, and it's fun. It's fun to just sit here and just talk on a weekly basis. And there's really no structure to this stuff, and just get into the gear. But with that, let's get into the gear stuff. So we got in. Let's talk about some of the new stuff that has come out. Anything new that I guess we'll start with NAB. It was like what, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And anything new from NAB or any other of these expos that have recently passed that caught your attention?
Nothing too crazy. NAB was pretty chill this year. I feel like next year ought to be pretty big. We've had a couple lull years, kind of in between a bunch of big stuff. And of course, when there's not a lot of camera action, that's like at the top of the pile, right? And sets kind of the stage. A couple little things. Obviously, the what Adamus did, that was probably one of the biggest things of the year, honestly. With ProRes RAW, seeing that Ninja 5, hopefully that comes out soon.
You looking to pair that with the GH5?
Yeah, I'm hoping they figure out the whole ProRes RAW or RAW over HDMI.
Yeah,
because
currently that doesn't exist.
Yeah, but there's a little on the battery pack on the back of that. So for those who don't know, it's essentially a monitor recorder. And on the back where you slot in your Sony MPF battery, there's a little 30-pin header.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so they could do things with that.
Like what? Have you spoken to them or?
Yeah. Well, we could just kind of think of the possibilities there. It's like, here's a Sony MPF battery I just happen to have on my trash desk here, and maybe there's going to be little modules about this big with various connections on it or other items. So it's kind of a backdoor to whatever they want to do in the future with that, which I hope something happens soon, because that could be really, really interesting. And I'm so done with carrying around my Inferno on these small cameras. This huge,
oh my gosh, I hate that.
I mean, it's a great device, but for the small camera thing, I'm super stoked to have something.
I really don't like it when my monitor is bigger than my camera.
Yeah,
I hate that.
So on like an FS700 or FS5, it kind of makes a little more sense. But
I use it with my FS5, which is perfect.
Oh, nice. You got like a solid little setup going on there.
Yeah. No, I love it. And that's for, the higher end work. I love the fact that now they have the ProRes RAW, because I never took advantage of the RAW out of the FS5. The Cinema DNG is just way too big. We're talking about 24 minutes of footage, half a terabyte. That's just ridiculous. There's nobody has time for that. But ProRes RAW really gets me excited. I would love to test it. I mean, I had very limited time to play with it since I don't edit on Final Cut Pro.
Right.
So I'm just waiting on Premiere to come out with it with the license. I know that Apple's just holding off on that right now. They're trying to. Seems like they're trying to get some sales, some conversions.
I would not be surprised. Not one little bit. And hey, they
created it, man.
I know for sure. More power to them. I'm definitely not hating. I would like to.
Right. No, I totally get it.
I fully understand business. I fully understand that kind of stuff.
Are you both Adobe guys?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
So
are you the oddball?
What?
Are you the oddball here? You're on Final Cut?
I'm yes, I'm the perfect Apple child. Apple hardware, Apple software.
There you go.
You guys on Apple hardware?
Well, I'm on Apple hardware with the Mac Pro, but my monitors and everything else is not. So
gotcha.
But I do love their operating system. Sorry, go ahead.
Going into like when I got into all this stuff, I was into compositing and VFX stuff. So like for me to be in motion at the time was it was such a pain. So I came over here as quickly as possible once I figured out the dynamic link. So I've been stuck on it since. And now the whole workflow, I just can't, I don't like it. It doesn't visually please me, the Final Cut thing, but I'm just not used to it at the same time. So.
Yeah.
I love how Final Cut is super easy to learn. I learned on Final Cut Pro 10. It was
you learned on 10? I think I learned on 7.
Learned editing on 10?
Learned editing on 10.
How old are you?
Oh.
Who, me?
Yeah, how old's 10?
10 is like 2 years, 3 years.
That's what I mean. Like, how could you just learned to edit 2 years ago?
No, it's not. 10 is not 2-3 years.
Yes,
10,
it's
10,
not
10
that
came out
old.
like,
I want to say like 2015.
No,
dude, it's not that old, man.
I'm telling you, I learned.
There's a Final Cut, like, I don't even know what you call it. Not Final Cut 7, but there was like a consumer-based like Final Cut that came on.
If anybody, where's my
Apple,
chat?
Right?
Where's my chat? Hold on.
I don't know.
People have been writing in a chat. I haven't. Can somebody look up how long?
2011. Okay.
Wow.
Really? Okay. Final Cut 10 came out in 2011.
Crazy.
Final Cut 10 released June 21st, 2011 in the App Store.
Wow.
I'm not crazy. I was editing. I was editing in Final Cut 10 from my dorm room at FIU. I remember.
Wow.
That's where I learned.
That's scary. I swore that was like 2014.
Same, dude. I thought it was only a few years old. I mean,
I learned. Yeah, so I learned that on 10. Well, I started on iMovie. Obviously, I think the way anybody with a Mac would start.
Yep.
But I quickly transitioned over to Final Cut 10. And then when I was there for a long time. I started my business in 2013. I started doing it for money because I started at my church as well. And then
cool.
Yeah, and I was doing a lot of videos for my church, everything Final Cut Pro 10. I started my business 2013. It was funny, my very first project that I ever accepted for money, it was basically I had to not cover an event, but they had footage from an event that they covered. They needed me to edit for them. The files that they gave me, Final Cut Pro 10 would not accept it. So I had to call my friend Fernando, who has been on the show before. I called him, hey man, these files that I'm supposed to edit, Final Cut does not accept them. But apparently Premiere does. So I'm stuck here having to edit this on Premiere. And just like that, I had to learn the hard way.
I just saw that Kevin Otterness is on here.
Kevin Otterness has been on the show before, calling us all babies. Glad to have you on the chat, Kevin.
What's up, Kevin? We're tight too.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, learning on Final Cut 7 for me is why going to Premiere was so much easier, because that's, I mean, it's so much more similar. But then, yeah, I could see if you're going from iMovie to that, to Final Cut 10, how that would be a smooth transition.
Yeah, no, that makes way more sense. Yeah, I started on Final Cut Studio 3, which is whatever Final Cut, what is that, 5? Because they had like an offset numbering. And then I used 7 for a long time, and then skipped 10 for a little while, tried Premiere, and then eventually just accepted my fate. And I love it. I love Final Cut 10, especially from a content creator's perspective.
Oh, no, yeah. I think that for Final Cut 10, and people always ask me, I'll sometimes point people to Final Cut 10. Like, if what they're trying to create doesn't involve a high level of in-depth editing,
go ahead.
You don't need that much flexibility. If you don't plan to do some heavy coloring and all that stuff, I always point them to Final Cut 10. That's always the easiest place to learn and to do stuff. But it does handle footage really, really nicely.
Caleb, would you edit a feature film or documentary in Final Cut?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure. Really, the only reason I would consider Adobe is After Effects.
Right. Which was a huge part of my workflow.
Maybe Audition, but I mean, without After Effects, I was going to ask, like, would you still be into it if that didn't even exist? It's been so clunky and buggy. And the fact that, especially if you're going to be an Apple guy, it kills me to see people using Adobe on Apple hardware. It's like, just sell it or keep it personal and buy a PC. What are you doing? Because you're using like essentially nerfed hardware for software that works on it, but not phenomenally. Whereas Final Cut 10 on an older machine is a dream. Even there's lots of guys on 2014, 2013 MacBooks who are killing it in Final Cut 10, and that's just because Apple can get in there and do Apple things.
I wonder if I've never experienced how fast it is and how much, but like, or am I just so used to what Premiere is? Like, I have no problems. I drop it down if I need to in res, and like, I have no issues with anything. It has been buggy, that you are 100% right, and it actually has seemed to get better, but it's not great. It's still in between right now.
Right.
But
I guess I mean like the guys who have Apple hardware and just bought an iMac Pro for Premiere. Right. You know what I mean? Like I would keep Apple hardware. I get the whole, ecosystem and you're used to it and everything. But for work, I mean, I would just build or buy a pre-built like gaming machine. And
I think this has come up on 3 straight episodes that we need to get a PC and run, even if we're running Premiere, get a PC to do it.
Got to be some kind of sign.
Yeah.
I have been considering
MSI. I know they're dropping machines left and right to creators.
Oh yeah, that's right. MSI has
pre-built monsters that they have.
I think didn't Philip Bloom did a nice in-depth episode on that.
Yeah, him. I know Craig really Adams got one.
Craig Adams, okay.
And a couple other people I can't recall, but
man, Crosshammer Film says that PC is cheaper. Yeah, I do agree. I know that. It's just I don't know, man. Getting rid of the Apple operating system is just so scary.
It's kind of like you said with like curating an editor or something. I don't have time. I don't have time to learn that right now. I don't have time to learn Final Cut right now. I got to stop.
If I did it, I would literally just have the icons for each app and nothing else. Dropbox, so you could go back and forth easy.
Yeah. Dropbox is awesome.
I hate Windows, and I feel like I'm okay at using it because I try to do gaming. So I'm somewhat familiar, but it's the dumbest. Something's wrong. It's buried in some 3-level deep setting.
What was the last version of Windows that you used?
Well, I have like 3 PCs, so we have Windows 10 and all that stuff. But 95 to now, I would say. You mean the last one I've been in and used?
Yeah, like the last version of Windows that I guess I assume you've had bad experiences with them, or you just don't like.
They're all terrible.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's just like on screens. Yeah, well, it's not even that. It's just like my Xbox controller stops working. All right, find the whatever, not firmware. What's the word I'm looking for?
The operating system.
No, the little thing that they need, the drivers.
Okay.
Like, the drivers aren't working. It's an Xbox mic. Everything here is Microsoft, right? So I go into the settings, I find the driver, I say update, and they're like, I don't think you want to update this. Like, no, I really do. And they're like, this won't fix it. I'm like, yes, it will, and it fixes it. All of that was Microsoft. That's all their own stuff. It's just dumb stuff like that.
Communicate with itself.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
So, you've made me wonder now. I wonder if Premiere would run better on a PC. But
absolutely it would.
I hear that. I mean, I've never heard that. I've heard that it's essentially the same thing, and this is
I guess what I'm trying to say is like dollar for dollar hardware wise, you can get something.
You're getting the same performance for half the price.
Right, and that's fine. But I'm talking about when like the softwares integrate. Like, I wonder if it runs the same. Like, I know that for sure. I can get way more power for a lot less money. But what I'm saying is, would PC run better, smoother with the Microsoft operating system than a Apple operating system?
That'd make a great video.
That would make a great video.
Get some comparable systems, Adobe on each, and edit.
Too bad I don't do video reviews, so maybe one of you guys want to take that on.
Hey, let's collab, Caleb. Let's do it.
Hey, Kevin says no on the chat. So
Kevin, get out of here, man. We're about to do a test, dude. Don't ruin our flow here.
Come on, man. You just spoiled. Oh gosh, Kevin. All right, so let's talk about cameras, man. Currently you're on the GH5. Do you have the S version of that?
Yeah, so right now I'm
GH5?
primarily using the GH5, GH5S, and the A7 III, and then an A6500 here or there.
Great cameras.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the name like DSLR video shooter, and I know you recently did a video with the Sony FS700.
Right.
Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Is that your camera? You just purchased it real quick?
Yeah, I bought a used FS700. I need to do a video on why I bought it. That'll be a nice clickbaity-ish.
Nice.
I bought a 20 whatever the year camera in 2018 or whatever trendy title everyone loves these days.
Do you plan to stay on the DSLR with a name like that? Do you plan to stay on DSLR, SLR style cameras?
So yeah, I haven't used a DSLR in years and years. I'm just not going to change the name because the brand is established.
Right.
And like there's at least I'm not, I love these guys. I know them. They're all great. But Cinema 5D, I don't have a camera like model number. It's just like a style. You know what I mean? Like their brand is Cinema 5D, even though the 5D thing is,
kind of behind us.
Yeah. We're in the mirrorless age. People constantly comment on my site though, or on the channel, when are you going to change it to mirrorless?
Mirrorless video shooter.
But then then it'll move on to something else. So it's a brand. I'm just going to leave it. If Simon Cade from DSLR Guide changes his channel, then I'll start worrying.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I stick with the smaller bodies, kind of that intermediate, I don't know, $3,500 and under kind of setups.
Sure.
For two reasons. One, I think it's one of the more exciting. Yeah, there's fun stuff on the high end for sure. But I feel like a lot of the innovation, that stuff trickles down, and especially going forward, how much power they're packing into these small cameras is really interesting.
Yeah.
To me, it's kind of boring. Okay, the EVA1, the FS5, that's great. You got a big old body, but give me like something that's tiny. This coffee cup that can do 4K 60, 10-bit. That's interesting.
I gotta tell you, man, the GH5 has literally blown my mind with what that camera has. Like, it's incredible, and this is the reason why. And for the longest time, including with the GH4, I've always been on the fence about that. But when the GH5 came out and I started seeing all this footage that people have been shooting with it, and obviously with the specs on the paper, it just blew my mind. I couldn't deny it anymore. And with the fact that Sony just would not release the A7S Mark III,
right?
I just pulled the trigger on that, and now I want to get the GH5S, and probably replace my FS5 with the EVA 1, just to pretty much have an entire Panasonic lineup. But
interesting,
yeah, and my goodness, I could not believe the amount of power. So with all this technology that has been improving and improving, now they have these gimbals that I'm sure they're not going away, but now DJI has the Ronin S that has basically been getting very popular. It seems like they're all catering to, much frugal filmmakers, basically these filmmakers that basically want to just stay at the small level. When I say small level, I mean, getting more power in the hands of these young filmmakers and making that stuff much more affordable. Would you say that that's the case? Like, they're bringing the high end level stuff to a different part of the market.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is, like Lamborghini or I don't know, Bugatti only needs to sell like 3 cars a year or something like that, or whatever that number is. And I think they're starting to see that the market is blowing up, especially on that low to intermediate level. So shipping more units at a lower cost makes a lot of sense. And there's so much competition down there. So I think that's a big part of it. And there's everything's getting smaller,
Yeah.
I mean, even that FS5, considering what it can do, is pretty small. The EVA 1, smaller, lighter. And I think pros or cinema camera users are also like like you just said, the GH5 is amazing for the size.
Yeah.
And once you shoot on it, and then you're like, now wait a minute, I'm making like, you know, commercials or smaller end commercials. Do I really need to bring my red when I could just be zipping around with this? And so just a buddy of mine who's got 2 reds, like massive studio setup and everything. And it's just so tempting to go with the small stuff. So I think everything is going to keep shrinking down.
Yeah,
that's just going to be a continuing trend.
We have raw video becoming more and more accessible through these small cameras. It's so funny because I had the episode I did with Chris Ray. Chris Ray owns a red weapon, and he also owns a GH5.
Sure.
He tells me, you know, sometimes I want to just pick up my GH5. Oftentimes I want to pick up my GH5 rather than the red. And he feels like, man, you know, I paid so much for the red, you know, I have to use it. But it's incredible what these cameras are making these actual red owners and all that stuff actually rethink that, you know, that whole aspect.
Well, I could speak on that.
Go ahead.
Being that I own 2 reds and other cinema cameras and
stop bragging,
small cameras. I love my cameras, but I'm very much the opposite. I hate going smaller. Like, I mean, I like the ease of it, like when you're shooting.
Sure.
But I hate showing. I don't, for what I want to charge and what I want to get to as far as a business. Right. I don't want to. I can't show up on set with those small cameras. People think I'm joking. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't create good quality, because it very, very much can, and it can compete with those cameras. I know that, but I don't think the clients really know that when they want to pay, when they're paying that much. I can't step on set with a small camera.
Absolutely, but two things can be true though. Like, you can want to impress your clients. You can want to impress your clients, and that's why you take the red. But you would still want to be shooting on the GH5, you know? And that is literally that's honestly these days, that's the reason why I pull out my FS5 these days, as rigged out as it is. And also I do get slightly more depth in color and all that stuff, but the difference does not justify the inconvenience of lugging around a big camera like that. Personally, I would like to just shoot on the red. If you just give me that Ninja V, I'll be perfect with that. But honestly, most of the time, I just want to go nice and light and still get amazing quality.
You say the inconvenience though, but when you can charge twice as much to shoot on a weapon, is that inconvenienced?
Absolutely not.
Right.
For sure.
That's what I'm saying. I can't charge what I would like to charge if I show up with the GH5.
Of course not. Of course not. And that's the reason why people would have that. But look, the point I'm making is, you know, charge whatever you want to charge, and then give your client whatever they're expecting. This is what I'm telling you. Like, the reason I pulled it out is because I have clients that are paying well, so I have to kind of impress them with their investment, you know. And that's more of the reason why I'll pull out the FS5 and whatnot. But oftentimes, like, sometimes they're paying me to get a job done, and they're not even there for when I'm shooting. I'll pull out the GH5. So that I can get that job done sometimes. But if they're there, yes, obviously, I want to kind of wow them, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I think that's true for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess I just like, if Mr. Deakins is willing to shoot something on an iPhone.
Yeah.
You know, but I totally get it. If you're in like Los Angeles and Mercedes-Benz is going to do some hot, sexy commercial and they're shopping for production companies, it's going to look, you know, it's going to be easier if you've got a pile of reds and cinema lenses than a GH5.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not knocking.
Like, go ahead. Sorry, I meant to say that the main thing is just size. Everything's shrinking.
Yeah.
So eventually, all our reds and whatever cinemas will be much smaller.
And
then it'll be an even, you know, playing field.
Yeah, for sure. That's going to be interesting to see when they can package all that those things offer into the smaller I mean, that it's happening as we speak, and I'm sure it's not that far away.
It's all that remains really is the main thing with lighting, with the sensors, everything is heat dissipation and efficiency, because we're still losing. It's crazy. Like, we think of how efficient LEDs are. There's still the energy going from the power source to the diodes. There's still a huge percentage of energy loss. Like, I think it's like over 80% or something. Really? And that's why, like, those big LED chips need huge fans as there's all that heat.
Mm.
But once they get that kind of dialed in, it's going to be ridiculous. I mean, you'll be able to, like, this will be a 300D, you know, an aperture 300D, something just tiny. But they've got to figure that stuff out.
It just gets too hot.
Yeah, there's just too much heat. Energy is being lost in heat. They can't get that energy 100% going toward an LED chip, a sensor. That's why all this stuff gets hot still. And then kind of going back to your, why do I still use the small cameras? The second part is I can't afford to buy an FS5, an FS7, a C, whatever the heck 100 that's out now. So I don't accept cameras from manufacturers. And so it's all on me to buy them. And I could rent, but to really get to know a camera, you need to shoot with it.
Yeah.
So you don't at all? You won't do reviews if a company sends you one?
No, I when it comes to cameras with lenses, you know, I'll collab with like different companies to check them out on loan. But with cameras, it's just nothing. It's too emotional for people. You know how people get with cameras. It's like if I say I don't like Canon or Nikon or whatever, you know, people start to question why they're alive. It's ridiculous. So, and they also get the most like, oh, did they send that to you? Are you in bed with this brand?
Right.
How much of that do you get?
And I can say whatever I want. Even though I always say whatever I want, I never ever get myself into a situation where I'm scripted.
Right.
But it's just freeing to not know there's a potential lawsuit. You know, like these days you could say, I don't really like the way this HDMI door is, and bam, you know,
how dare you,
by like a lawsuit or something. So with cameras especially, it's just buy it. I can always sell it later, but I don't really have that much in the coffer to be slinging capital toward all these cinema cameras.
So I want to get into a couple of these questions here we've been ignoring. So Brandon Fountain wants to know, what do you think about the new GH5 firmware?
I actually haven't installed it yet.
Okay.
Things have been a little crazy around here. From what I've seen, it looks like autofocus is a little better. I think they also tweaked the GH5 color to match the GH5S, but nothing crazy.
It's not like the last part. They tweaked the GH5 to match.
Yeah, so the GH5S and the GH5 have completely different color signs.
Yeah, I noted. I saw that, and that's why I'm really big on color.
Yeah, so I think they tweaked that from just the side by sides people were putting up. I was like, oh yeah, they took the reds that were in yellow green land and bumped them back just like the GH5S. So the camera should match now.
Huh. I would love to see I guess a comparison on that from DSLR video shooter soon.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do that stuff, because over time it's getting to the point where if I do all those little video ideas that I definitely have and would love to do, and I'm looking at my schedule, it's like, well, no new content until August 29th or something like that. So I'm trying to come up with creative ways. I think the live streams are a great way. Maybe I'll do little sessions.
Hence iFilmmaker.
Some pre-recorded stuff that isn't like worth using or putting up on like a main slot on the schedule. I don't know. But yeah.
How far ahead do you have your schedule set up for?
It's all over. I used to be like way ahead, and I also do camera guides, which are like long form.
Yeah, I want to ask more about those.
Yeah, so those take so much time because the whole idea behind me doing them is the idea is you buy it, and anything you could possibly ever want or need to know about a camera and how to shoot video on it is in there. So it's just weeks and weeks and weeks of diving through menus, doing tests, and then
massive prep,
figuring out a way to organize that into a cohesive content, and then editing it all, uploading it all. So yeah, those really trying to balance that and the channel, but I don't want to put all my eggs in the YouTube channel.
Sure.
You know,
do you find that valuable in the end? Like, is it worth your time investment?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's what people should seriously be considering is what else can you do outside of YouTube? Because YouTube's not going to pay you anything or very little. Even these big channels are making almost comparatively. Like I couldn't come close to living off of what I make on YouTube just from the AdSense. And I think that's a great way to go. Build up an audience with free content. And the reason I started doing the guides isn't just capital, but that's always nice.
Yeah.
But it's also for those who want, want more. It's like a long form. You can really dive in, and it's just a different medium. So, and it's getting really affordable to do like online video, selling, like having your own. I use
video on demand. And stuff.
Yeah. Really, really great stuff out there now to make that possible.
Oh yeah, all these websites and website hosting platforms are becoming much better.
Does it scare you though if you do? Because I've thought about doing these types of things, whether it's on a camera or a technique or something, and really diving more in depth. But with cameras, the thing that just freaks me out a little bit is just like we're talking about with the turnover of cameras nowadays. By the time you learn one and make the video and put it out there, people are probably already, maybe moving on to another camera. Or how much longer is that camera going to last? Does that freak you out at all?
That's the curse of being a gearhead.
Yeah. Yep. Something else. No, at first that's what I thought too. And I was like, well, maybe it'll just be like a short term. I just keep making these and get kind of a season of revenue from them. But then they just kept selling and selling and selling and selling. I still sell G7 and GH4.
Wow,
guys.
That's great.
And I think it's the used market if you think about it.
Yeah,
because how many of us,
not everyone can.
I want to
go buy
red Monstro or whatever. Well, I guess I'll settle for a used Epic. You still got to learn how to use that camera. So, and I'm trying to do more non-camera related stuff, but that's, to do that kind of training requires a lot. Like a lighting course, that takes a lot of planning time. And whereas a camera, it's something physical, tangible that you can easily kind of tackle.
Yeah, with the lighting setups, you probably have to test every setup before you even decide to use it on in your guide, right?
Yeah, and just resources, more people.
Yeah,
because it's not as simple as me sitting in a chair next to a tripod and a camera and doing. Yeah, I got to get talent in, and it would be much larger. Still want to do it, but yeah.
It's interesting. So we have a question here from Twisted Arc Productions. Question for Caleb: What are his main lenses for his GH5S? I guess that could apply for GH5 also.
Yeah, that's a great question. I have the kind of like basic Panasonic lenses, and they work just fine. The 12 to 35, the 35 to 100, and then the 7 to 14, that crazy wide angle that Panasonic makes, and then a couple of their little primes, which are super fun. I'm using one right now, actually, the 14 millimeter 2.5. That's a great little pancake. They also have a 21.7. So those are all the natives. Autofocus, whether it's good or not, I'll leave that up to everyone else. But it's there. I really, especially on the GH5S, think a speed booster is a phenomenal move because of that wider field of view on the GH5S. So with a 0.71 speed booster, you're bigger than Super 35. You're actually in between Super 35 and full frame.
Yeah,
I haven't tested yet, but that 0.64 that Metabones makes, the like wider speed booster, I think would put you really close to full frame.
So the GH5S has a wider field of view than GH5.
Yeah.
It's not a micro four thirds sensor.
Well, it is a micro four thirds sensor. I just don't think
you have to go check out. You have to go check out that DSLR video shooter he made. That's actually where you broke it down really well. You showed us the sensor size with your color pencils, and
my broken printer.
And your broken printer. Oh, is that the reason why you did it with the
sorta? It was yeah.
Well, no, it was very informative actually. You broke it down, like you showed us the reason why they had to take out the IS is to make more room for the sensor. So it's a bigger sensor, slightly wider field of view. And yeah, I actually use my GH5 as I don't know why I pointed up here. I'm using a Sony. I actually use the GH5 with the Metabone speed booster. the 0.64 Ultra, and then I use it with, you know, I have my Sigma Art 18-35 f1.8. The speed booster makes it an f1.2, which is incredible. I also have that same lens, but 50-100 f1.8, again f1.2. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous lenses. The eye internal stabilization is so freaking good in that camera. Like it's so scary good. Like it's wow. Like I've had like handheld gimbal like shots with that camera, and it's literally scary how good that thing is. But yeah, and those are basically my main two lenses. Those lenses are crazy sharp. But yeah, no, that huge fan of those lenses.
Yeah. So that's so I would definitely consider a speed booster, just because autofocus isn't going to be necessarily outrageously good. And it's just so funny now that like that's the hill everyone wants to die on now. Autofocus.
Yeah, you know what's funny
so
though?
Funny. And I get it. Like if you use dual pixel or Sony stuff, it's crazy good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just, you know, manual focus. Are we gonna have a whole generation that doesn't know how to manually focus? Probably.
It's probably just like I mean, I don't know how many people are throwing this stuff on gimbals, but now with all the accessibility to handheld ones, and you don't have to get Ronins or anything anymore.
That's the only reason I would even consider the autofocus. I'm a huge advocate of manual focus. It's funny because I was the opposite when I first started. I was big on autofocus.
Well, it's that or vlogging. You know, if people are trying to use it for vlogging.
Sure. Yeah, vlogging is a different story, and I don't know if that's what they're referring to. But yeah.
And for B-roll, it still makes sense, you know, any kind of B-roll where you're handheld or on sticks or something, just to kind of autofocus is fine. But I think it's amazing. Like they're like, how do you get such good focus in your videos? I'm like,
I'm
not moving, guys. I just set it to right here, and then that's like, oh my goodness, that's a great idea. I'm like, manual focus. It still's great.
It still works good.
Yeah,
that's good. Well, sometimes, all right. So I guess when I'm getting slider shots and I want to focus on one specific item, and depends on how clean I want to be in that focus and how shallow I want to be, sometimes autofocus does come in handy for that reason. But other than that, I'm a huge advocate for manual.
Brandon Fountain just chimed in and said, I need autofocus. I'm moving a lot with most of clients, but when I'm on a tripod, I manual focus. That's interesting. I mean, you guys have done documentary work too. I've shot documentary. I'm not on autofocus. Like if the client's moving, you got to focus with them. You got to move with them. I mean, like you're saying, Caleb, maybe I'm, you know, maybe nowadays people are just going straight to autofocus before they learn how to pull focus.
And again, like I would use autofocus on a paid gig, just because it's getting reliable enough.
Yeah.
Like these Sony cameras, especially like the new A7 III, you point at something and it's done. It's on. Like I shot the video I just uploaded on my channel. The talking head stuff was completely autofocus, and it was 55 at 1.8.
Wow.
And
1.8 you can easily miss.
And it was a champ. The only problem I had was when you have HDMI out of that camera, the eye autofocus and face detection doesn't work. It's super dumb.
That's interesting.
And so you'll see a couple times it catches the brim of my hat and little things like that. But for the most, so I had a box essentially on me, but it's getting really, really good. And what I like about it is, even if you're insanely awesome at manual focus, the way our brains are kind of wired, it's hard to, if you're shooting a documentary, be thinking about the perfect framing for this shot. You know, your settings, are you recording? Where's our audio at? And all this kind of stuff. If you're not on a film crew, obviously.
You know, that's a cool point, because when I was shooting mine, I remember being like, man, I missed that shot. I missed the focus. I didn't frame that. And like in the end though, because it's a documentary and you're just so used to that look and feel of it not being perfect, it's not set up, you know, and it comes down to the edit, and there's focus pulls, and there's, you know, you're getting in late and making you're even zooming in with the lens because you're trying to get tighter. It feels right though. It still feels right because it's a doc, you know. I thought that was
especially
cool.
if you're shooting verite.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to do some rack focusing and all that stuff.
Sure.
Look, I'm not fully opposed to. I mean, my camera right now, as it's shooting me, it's on autofocus. It follows me perfectly. And on the other hand, like I've heard people, you know, and I fully disagree with those people that say manual all the way 100%, never do autofocus.
There's a time and a place.
Come on, there are different reasons to use different aspects of your camera, you know. It's like the same. Some people have told me, you know, sometimes I'll put cross dissolve on clips, and some people have said no, always keyframe everything to fade that stuff, never do the cross dissolve. I'm like, look, man, for what I need to do it for, man, it's gonna work just fine. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do anything. It's whatever gets the job done for you, and understanding the different aspects of what it gives you. I know that I have more flexibility. For example, on the cross dissolve, I know I have more flexibility when I keyframe it, and I can change that curve to make it smoother in that sense, and I know when to use that. So knowing that, I'll move forward, continuing to use cross dissolve, but I'll keyframe it when I need to. Same thing for autofocus. Autofocus, you'll know when you need to use that autofocus feature. It's good to have it in the camera. Personally, the way that I work, I don't use it too much at all, unless it's for stuff like this. But honestly, it's really, it depends on the way that you work.
I mean, that's the point to everything here, right? Whether it's autofocus or cross dissolve or the camera you're using, there's a there's a situation,
or even the editing software.
There's a situation for everything.
Yeah, if you want to use Final Cut X, use it.
Yeah. And it is also like, do you want a video today, or do you want me to spend another 3 days fine tuning it? You know, you gotta ship it. A good friend of mine, and I feel like I started to figure this stuff out as I was transitioning out of being a freelancer. But I used to, like, if I had the time, I'm gonna spend every second of it tweaking this ridiculous lighting setup for this, you know, commercial that we're doing or whatever. When you know, more these days and toward the end of doing freelance, it was like, what's gonna sell the red widget that they're trying to sell? Is it gonna be my lighting setup, or is it gonna be, you know, whatever else? So just like, it's all, you know, and that's not going to fly on the next James Bond film, but you know what I mean? Just whatever you're working at, what's the end goal? Is it to get a video out and get a video out regularly? Is it to sell this Illinois manufacturing company's widgets? Or
do you think that YouTube, that this is actually one of the reasons I wanted to get some YouTube stuff going, is because I became such a perfectionist. It was like, I'm never going to get anything done. And I thought that if I try to pump out 2 videos a week, there's no way I could be perfect. So it taught me to, like, figure out what's important and what's not, you know?
Yeah.
Do you think, so the same thing you said towards your end of your freelance career, where your YouTube stuff was really picking up, do you think that taught you, like, oh man, I wish I would have known this a little bit back, so I would have got through some of my stuff quicker?
Oh yeah, I mean, the channel would probably be way bigger. Like, I was amazed when you were like, this is the first week I haven't done a video in a year. I was like, holy cow, because when I got started, it was all over the place, and it wasn't until the last handful of years that it's been really, really regular. But yeah, you got to let that stuff go. And it's so funny because people are constantly like, you know, can't take this guy seriously because he doesn't actually do this for a living anymore. And I'm like,
people have said,
look around, man. You make, you know, several hundred videos a year, and get back to me.
Yeah,
people have told you that.
My favorite comment, and it's sort of true, and I cracked up because it's phenomenal. He's like, if you think about it, Caleb and his channel is like a cooking show where you talk about the knives, you talk about different types of fruit, you talk about ovens, temperatures, but you never actually cook. And I thought that was wonderful. You know, it's sort of true. Like, I don't go out and make a short film or a documentary. But again, it comes down to, I mean,
okay, to
you're gonna do this, you gotta let one die. And like, I'm so jealous of guys like Ryan who have family, or anyone really who's interested enough to, like, get in at the ground floor, right? Like, it's impossible for me to find people who would want to do this for free, right? To get started, you know? So that's I love what he's got going on. I think it's amazing.
Man, it is really amazing.
And I'm not saying like that's why he's awesome and that's not the reason for them being successful and amazing.
Right.
But I think that's
No, it's
super duper
definitely
cool.
a high level. It's a high level of dedication starting from him, and then
Yeah.
that kind of motivation and inspiration trickling down to the rest of his family that is willing to put in the work because they see him doing it as well.
Yeah.
All of that plays a huge factor. Obviously there's no denying that. But here I want to say something about oh god,
Ooh,
it's
lost your video.
camera. Oh,
It's all right, I
geez.
got you.
Did it heat up?
I'll keep talking, so hopefully my picture comes up, so people aren't missing us.
My goodness.
But you know what? It's fun. Like, it's funny you say that, Caleb, because I just on Sunday decided I had been going through some archives for a project I was doing. I was like, man, and traveled the world for it, documentary stuff. I was like, man, we got some beautiful shots all over the world. And I was like, let me start putting some of this up on my Instagram. It could be, I'll do a screen grab Sundays. It'll give me some content, show some people some of my work rather than just gear or behind the scenes. And I put it up and I get like 10% of the likes that I normally get because nobody cares.
Yeah.
People want to see a shot of my 17 Pelican cases, and that gets so many likes so fast.
Yeah.
And I put up something like an accomplishment or a really beautiful shot, and it's just like I get nothing. So it's like then I'm like discouraged a little bit. I'm like, I guess I'll just go back to posting gear because that's all everyone wants to see.
Yeah.
All right, we're back.
You're back. It's a funny animal.
Jordan
crazy, right?
Kennedy said Ariel down. Okay. I guess my battery right now, but I have it connected to AC, which is weird. My battery is hot though. A6300 probably overheating here. Anyways, so what I wanted to say was to the comment about your show being like a cooking show without actual cooking, you're just showing the product. I don't think that. So I think that the purpose for DSLR video shooter and channels like that is really to show you. Like I'll go to your channel and I'll look at your videos if I'm looking to buy a product and I want to see what you have to say about it. I want to see the actual features. You know what I mean? That is a purpose for that channel.
It's
it's
super
not
valuable.
show, right? That's, I don't. If I want to see nice footage from a specific camera, I'll see what you shot. I'll see what Philip Bloom shot. I'll see what other people have shot with it. And I don't think that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's a purpose for that. There's a market for that. There's people that are constantly looking at gear. There's people that want to see what that gear is like. What kind of specs does it have and what do those specs really look like? That is something that's very valuable. And there's if people are not okay with that, like I don't see why it makes a difference whether you use it in your regular work or not.
Right. Well, those comments roll right off of me just because it's the way I see it is I am creating more content than I have ever
would, yeah.
And when I was doing freelance, like you get into a groove where this is my interview setup. Yeah, you slowly tweak things. But if you're making videos or doing some part of the video making process every single day, all day, this is my body of work on the channel. And I do really want to get to the point where we can get out of the studio and actually like shoot some projects. They can be made up or whatever, just to mix it up. But I'm at that awkward, like, okay, I could get all the videos done, or I could miss several videos to get this one done. And it's just, I really want to emulate kind of what Ryan's got going on, where he's like making films and then talking about that process. That's amazing.
The short films.
So I think that'll come down the road. Big plans for all of that happening. But like I said earlier, it's like, you got to kind of choose which thing is going to die, unfortunately.
Do you think that bringing someone on board now to help you with some of that workflow is going to it's like another step in that direction?
Oh, absolutely. I was saying on Twitter the other day, unfortunately, I can't remember what the tweet was, something to the effect of, if you're a one-man band or kind of a smaller company, take some time to really enjoy where you're at, because growing is great, but you're from here on out, you're just slowly going to start losing your freedom. I mean, it gets to the point where, like right now, I told people, I think I tweeted right after that in their reply to it saying, like, people don't get that making the actual videos and having a camera in my hand is maybe 20% of running the business. You know, there's so much stuff. And like Gary V, I do not envy that guy, because most of his life is probably just constant hell raining down, and he's got to keep making shelters, you know? Like it gets to a point where you're dealing with all the unfun stuff because, you know, you're running the business. So looking back at the days when it was just me as a shooter, just like so much freedom, you know, and just, it's just the nature of the beast. But having more people really does help kind of reduce that. Like someday I'd love to have like a business manager, the person who deals with like, you know, all the different companies and all that stuff. Otherwise, you know, it's you and your email account.
Yeah.
You know, email is just, that's a whole nother thing.
So
just, yeah.
These are all such cool points to hear. And all the stuff that you're saying and some of the stuff we're talking about, like another reason I got into YouTube stuff was because my stuff became so repetitive and just pumping stuff out for clients. I felt like I lost my creativeness in a way.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me get on YouTube and just whatever I'm pumping out, at least it's something, it's my own, whatever I want to talk about or whatever I want to create, I can put it out there. And that's another reason I started it. And it really does help, because even to now, even though, like I said, I might've missed last week. All right, I had a little extra work to do, but now I can go again, just on the side. It kind of like frees your mind of just doing the day-to-day client work, and lets you create. So yeah, even though you're not creating a film or something like that, you are creating probably more often than most, you know?
Yeah. I think it's just good for the soul. I was just talking to another friend of mine who's gone back and forth over the years, like, I should start a YouTube channel, but you know, I want to do it right. And I keep telling him, like, remember when you said that 2 years ago? You could have had a channel and been producing content for 2 years at this point. And it's just, I think it's just, everyone should try it, I think, because even if it doesn't grow, or not having the goal of it, you know, becoming a millionaire, but it's just good for the soul to, I think, make stuff in a video form. And just, there's something nice about that.
Do you feel that you get that freedom with DSLR video shooter?
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel so fortunate that even with all the stuff that's gnarly with running a business online and dealing with all that stuff, it's just, I feel very fortunate that I can go into the next room over and experiment with new lighting like every single week. And that's liberating. Otherwise, you know, again, it's you get in kind of a rut of whatever it takes to feed the beast, and often you kind of lose that having an hour to light, to just experiment. And that's one thing I want to get back to with having people to help me out is I used to have set aside a bunch of time to like just play essentially. So like all I'm going to do for the next hour and a half is lighting and just experiment with different ways to do indirect lighting. That's it for the next hour and a half. That's impossible now, but that was like so good to make time for that stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. It's funny, Jordan Kennedy here on the chat saying that we're inspiring him to start a channel.
Do it, man.
Do it. Don't wait. Do it now. I like
what
to
are,
say
what are your
it's gonna cost you remembering one more password.
What are some, I guess, advice in that note? What's some advice you would give to anyone thinking about starting a channel today? You know,
there is a lot of people, but I think what I love about Peter McKinnon is twofold. Number one, he proves that, you know, everyone's been saying for a while now, like, oh, the YouTube game you got to get started X amount of years ago. But you just never know. I'm exactly the same age, I believe. And I started at the same time as PewDiePie did.
Oh, wow.
Two very different results, right?
Yeah.
So you just never know. And if I was getting started today, just regular content and just do your thing. Because the beauty with YouTube is, yes, it's huge. There's already so many people creating content, but it's huge. So the audiences are all there. And there's really an infinite amount of room if you think about it. With that many eyeballs, people will eventually find the content, right? So even if you're into, you know, distressing spoons on Etsy or something like that, there's people who dig that stuff, and they'll find you on YouTube. So yeah, consistent content and just start. The Gary V thing. Just stop talking about it. Stop writing lists. Just get a camera out, jot some stuff down, and start making videos. And realize that your first several aren't going to be seen potentially for a long time.
Several
it takes time
hundred
to get that. Yeah, it takes a long while to get that thing up and running. But again, I think there's some healthy stuff about wrestling through making videos, and it's just feels good, you know, to have made something much less in that medium. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Just real quick, they're asking about my camera that went off. So Jordan Kennedy's asking, how am I?
They're wondering how you record longer than 30 minutes. We're not actually recording, guys. We throw it in through a capture card, like, or whatever you want to call these things. What do you call them? Are they capture cards? Caleb, help me out on that.
Yeah, it's a capture card.
Yeah. So it's streaming right into it's just literally playing or like on. It's not recording.
Yeah, it's not recording anything. For some reason, my camera's still getting hot. So I might have to, I guess, consider swapping out to the GH5 because I don't use the GH5 for this. Might have to consider that. I actually don't have a wide lens for my GH5. So this is a good question for you, from me, Caleb. I have a wide lens right now. This is a 20 right now on the A6300 at APS-C sensor. My 18 to 35 is way too heavy to hit on this because this is literally hanging off of a shelf through a magic arm. The A6300 is small enough so that it could, handle that. I'm thinking a pancake lens would be just fine. On
you have a 10 to 18?
I have a 10 to
18 to 105. That's what you said, right?
No, I have a 10. I'm sorry, I have an 18 to 35.
Okay.
And
that thing's huge.
It's a huge, and that including the Metabone speed booster that I need to attach it to the GH5. So I'm thinking maybe get a nice, very wide pancake lens for this. So I could probably just start throwing my GH5 in there because it seems like this camera is, I guess it'll give me some sort of issues.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm thinking about a very wide lens, trying to keep a little bit of shallow depth back there as well.
Yeah. For your GH5, this lens probably. I mean, I can touch this. This is a that's 14 to 14 millimeter 2.5. F2.5, and it's on a G7, which is a way cheaper camera. And the G7 does a crop in 4K mode. So right now it's going 4K. The camera's actually downscaling it to 1080, and that's what's going up through.
And that's another thing. I cannot do this 4K. I cannot because
Sony sucks with the downscaling and the signal.
Oh yeah,
it's a nightmare. If I use all Panasonic for my live streams, it's perfectly harmonious. You throw Sony in there, and it just.
Caleb, your videos are so informative, and I am sure not just myself, but so many people thank you for it. But I had to do a live stream through an Apollo. I have the Odyssey, but I had to do the Apollo upgrade to do it. And I had to watch your video like 18 times to figure it out. But the hardest part was trying to get, so I had two FS7s.
Signals.
Yeah, two FS7s, an FS5, and an A7S2. But I had to use the A7S2 as my primary because it's only HDMI, and I couldn't put that anywhere else. And trying to get that frame rate to match, even though I had it correct in camera, was not coming through correct. I had to go through make sure it was interlaced. It was just, man, was that difficult trying to figure out how to match the frame rate so that I could record the live stream switch or the live switch. But man, thanks for that video because I would have never figured it out on my own.
Nice. I love that device.
There was a question coming. I thought there was a question coming at the end of that.
So. No. Just thank you very much. Thank you.
Happy to be of service.
Thank you, Caleb.
I use a ton of these little HDMI to SDI adapters. They're like $30 on Amazon.
Yep.
And those help a lot. But yeah, Panasonic's great. They're like, oh, you're 1080, but I'm 4K. Here's a nice little downscaled 4K in 1080, so you get some nice sharp, lovely resolution. And Sony's just like, nope, put me in 1080, and I'm still gonna scream at you and not work at all.
Real quick, you're a GH5 owner. What do you think about this new device that came out from Oh, gosh, I got an email.
Oh, the Came TV little
Yes,
rig
Came
thing
TV.
that goes in the back.
Did you see that?
I did.
It's called the
actually-
Terrapin rig.
Okay, yeah. I think Came TV makes one now, or is it them that makes it, or that I don't know. I saw the Cinema 5D video on it.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Initial thoughts, reactions?
If it was for a 5D,
That's you don't have to say
ago,
anything else.
What is it, guys? I don't.
Okay, so it's a little box that you mount your GH5 or Sony whatever the heck to, and it gives you like phantom powered XLR preamps, SDI, and all this stuff. And then it turns it into like a bigger EVA 1, probably more like an FS700 sized thing or FS5 sized thing. The only reason I think it's a little silly is the GH5 already has great battery life.
Yeah, it does.
You know, audio isn't amazing, but if you really care about audio, you don't want to use that box anyway, because who knows what preamps in there. You're probably going to use the sound devices mixed pre 3, HDMI to SDI. I bet you anything that's not 6G, so that's going to be 1080 only, or else that thing would cost a lot more.
Yeah.
You want that HDMI 2.0 out of the GH5 because that's where your 4K 60 is.
Exactly.
For the most part. And the screen's decent. So yeah, it kind of from a power, if you're going to power a ton of different devices, yeah, it makes sense a little bit, but it's not V mount, so it doesn't have a ton of amp love.
Yeah, that's one of the things that kind of drew me away from it.
For a Sony, I could see that a little more possibility, but so use case might be a little limited. I think it still could be very handy for certain folks, but
I definitely see other manufacturers moving in that direction. With regards to catering to the GH5, A7S, which actually, by the way, you said you had the A7 III.
Right?
Yeah. Compare that to A7S2, A7R3. What's the deal there? I've never used the camera. I've never seen it.
Sure. Honestly, I've never owned a full frame Sony until this camera.
Okay.
I've used the A7S when it first came out, and they've all, I know they're wildly popular, especially that A7S2.
Yeah.
But they've all been just lacking enough and terrible enough to where I've never wanted to actually use one full time. This one is the first one where I'm like, okay, this is working for me. The dual card slots, everything, autofocus, low light. It's just everywhere all around is a great camera. Stabilization, it just seems to work really. Sure, it has all the same silly stuff with the screen going black when you connect it via HDMI. It can overheat, but it's fairly rare. And I know a lot of people who are selling their A7S2s and going to the A7 III.
Yeah. Craig Adams.
Max Yuriev is a great guy for all that kind of comparison stuff on YouTube. So I love it. I mean, it's $2,000. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
$2,000 for a full frame, stabilized, good low light autofocus. So it really comes down, but with the GH stuff, that's the number one question I get asked is GH5 or A7 III. It comes down to way better pixels and stabilization on the GH5 versus full frame autofocus and low light.
Yeah.
So pick your poison.
I think the low light.
Get them both.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I would get the A6300. I'm sorry. What am I saying?
It's not even close.
I know. No, I would get the GH5S just because I'm so impressed with the GH5. Panasonic really they nailed it with that camera.
Yeah, GH5S is my daily driver, hands down. That with the speed booster and the 18 to 35. It's
so you have the same combo.
Oh yeah. For YouTube, it's dynamite.
Such sharp glass.
I shoot everything in Vlog. LUTs in the camera, so I just have a button program to turn on and off the LUT in camera to view the LUT on the display, and pop the same LUT into Final Cut and do a slight grade, and I'm out.
I've had some people refer to me to, because sometimes when I have to do kind of control the the camera, the GH5 through the app, I've had several people refer to me to this other app. I actually kind of forgot the name of it. It's like a
Field monitor, I think.
That's
what
the
it's
one.
called.
How
Gotta
much
get
is
it,
that?
man.
It's like a $30.
No, it's like 10, $20 maybe.
Right.
Whatever
Is it good?
whatever it's cost is so worth it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice.
It gives you full screen scopes, every single scope, LUT setup. For the Panasonic stuff, it's great. For Sony, I think it locks the camera up, the Wi-Fi on the camera, so you can't use. It's choppy as all get out, but it's also
I don't
limiting.
care. I don't care about it for Sony.
But that's what, if Panasonic didn't have that Wi-Fi capability,
Right.
I would seriously reconsider having as many of their cameras as I do, because that thing for YouTube is incredible. So you throw your GH5 in a corner, you point it at yourself, you pull it up on your phone, you can stop, start recording, change your focus, change your settings, check a waveform of your log footage if you're that hardcore as a YouTuber. So I love that so much.
Yeah,
so if you're not going to be behind the camera, and even when we did, corporate stuff, one guy would be on the gimbal, the other guy could be monitoring, changing focus, and it's almost latency free, or it's like it's very, very smooth. So it's like having a complete monitor.
So you recommend getting it?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I mean, if you use waveforms and scopes and stuff, or LUTs, I love it. If you're just going to change focus and settings, then the Panasonic one's fine too.
Yeah, the Panasonic one has worked perfectly for what I needed. The very few times I've ever needed to use it. But who cares? I mean, I don't mind having it. Maybe I'll get it the next time I require it, and just put it to use. What do you think about the Instagram IGTV, the new IGTV?
Yeah, I was hoping to have a video up by now going over how to shoot really nice vertical videos, but I'm waiting on a couple things to arrive.
You can save your thoughts for that video, so there's no.
I'll share your thoughts. I wasn't going to get too much into the vertical. I don't know if you want to talk about technical versus vertical video itself as a format, but I was going to get into mainly like how to actually shoot. There's some interesting things.
Yeah,
it's very singular, I think, framing. I don't think it'll ever fully like blow up outside of phones and like vloggers, because again, a group shot, a wide shot, an establishing shot, you're just not going to get it.
It's not going to happen.
I am really interested in the kind of like the technique behind capturing vertical video, because there's some really interesting things going on there. If you shoot 4K and you're distributing in 1080 vertically, you got this huge pan and scan you have open to you, because that's a perfect 1080 out of 4K sideways. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can do a vertical 1920 by 1080 out of a UHD, resolution. So in theory, you could shoot a YouTube video, and if you think about your content and your framing, you could just simply crop the center and still have full 1080 and distribute to both platforms while still being true to those aspect ratios. And then B-roll, you kind of do the same thing. If you mainly do wider shots, you can in theory shoot the exact same commercial or video and distribute it on both platforms, and it be like true and native to that platform, if that makes sense.
I've seen some people already uploading it. I guess uploading it sideways technically, because it's not, you'd have to turn your phone to view it. So they're just probably uploading the original file that they created for wherever else, which I had no problem with turning my phone. Do you think is everyone that against turning their phone? Because I'd much rather watch a video. Like I just still can't stand watching something vertically. Like I want to see it like it should be in 16:9.
Even if it was shot vertically?
No, I'm saying if they shot it for like YouTube, and it's this way, when I pull it up on my phone, it's sideways. So I have to go like this to watch it, right? Because they're just probably uploading their YouTube video or whatever. But I personally have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Do you think, is the world that like people move that fast and they need to like look at it this way? Like I have no problem just going like this and seeing visually like a 16:9 is just what I see video as. And I don't know if that's just because I'm a video person.
What I don't understand is why people keep comparing it to YouTube.
That's so dumb. It's
I don't
just
get it either.
different.
I don't understand. Like I've seen these videos, IGTV versus YouTube. How is that comparison even going to happen?
Did you see MKHB?
Yeah,
yeah. His was good to like talk about how it's possibly comparable, but I still don't see how it could compete. It's just the search functions.
I can see them growing up or growing over time. It's really new and really like, if you downloaded the app and you're just like, how do I do something other than watch whatever you're shoving in my face?
Right.
You know, because at first it was just all this random stuff that you didn't follow or anything like that. It's good.
It's definitely catered toward creators, because I cannot imagine me doing any of my, I guess, professional work or even let's say a short film. I'm not going to want to shoot it with vertical video in mind. I want to be able to maintain the rule of thirds and all that stuff in my framing and that sort of thing. I don't want to have to worry about that, so either way, people have been uploading stuff vertically anyways. And what I mean by vertically, like they're taking their normal video and just literally uploading it in that's what I'm saying, in that vertical manner. And they're still doing that, so they're not using it the way it's supposed to be used,
right? Which is one thing I love about just the internet, like Vine. You ever see the early like Vine videos, like what they were trying to sell Vine?
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like, ooh, cute little sexy thing to your friend privately, and it turned into like a comedy platform.
Everybody.
So who knows what it'll look like?
People shape it, man.
Yeah. I have no problem with the vertical as like, I think for vlogging and stuff, talking on the go makes perfect sense. I think right now, long term, it's just going to be a different animal. And I think it'll be interesting to see how people figure out. Like I'm like freaked out by how bad the framing is on everything. Even MKB's video, like I feel like people need to take a couple steps back for everything. Like every shooting video where it's really just cropping things off, I think it needs to be like right up in there, or back it off and get some essentially like headroom for your arms a little bit.
That'll fill the screen.
Or edits where they because if you think about how IGTV is going to be working, is you could do over under and then have less important information, because you know how videos like we're over here in the third and there's stuff here, text and stuff. Just do the opposite and then pay attention to where that browse. So you put little graphics with like a line that pops up with an arrow, so they know to swipe down and look into. There's some interesting stuff there. But it's just different.
I've been thinking about all that kind of stuff, like the different possibilities of this and what can happen. The cool thing is that I think if you're already like, I think I have on the film school Instagram account, there's already a platform there. So instead of saying we just posted another video, go check that out, we can just post that directly on there for the audience that's already there. How many people are going to click on the link in your bio, rather than how many people are going to just watch the video that you just posted right on that same platform. So I think that for that, it might be beneficial.
Sure. That's what I'm mainly excited about, is them doing long form video than the vertical thing.
Exactly.
YouTube can use as much competition as possible.
If they can find a way to integrate them both, like being able to post a vertical video, but getting that normal post, and I guess having a button there where you can make it full screen right on that same platform would have been really nice, They went and created a whole nother platform.
I personally just get frustrated when they just keep adding more and more things. And as a creator, it's like, all right, I got to create for another platform. It's like, this is that's consuming enough, man. This is so hard to keep up. It's like, you got to, I don't know if you pick and choose or you try to do them all. It's just gets tough.
Yeah, I'm more of a pick and choose guy. Like, otherwise you're just going to be weak.
You spread yourself too thin.
Exactly.
So I'm like Twitter, YouTube, and I'm trying to do better at Instagram. That's my life right now.
I always want them to do like a Twinsta chat, something that just is everything all in one. Please, somebody combine it all. But
which will never happen.
No, never.
Because Google versus Facebook, and it takes, for video especially, the horsepower it takes to get a good video.
Oh yeah.
Like just the bandwidth is impossible to do cheap.
Kevin Ottern has just made a really good point. IG needs to activate links in descriptions
Yeah.
Yes.
I've
that'd be
wondered
cool.
for so long why they, and I think a big part of it is
They wanna-
Instagram. Twitter is Twitter, just a bunch of us talking about stuff, right?
Yeah.
Instagram, I could see becoming a really nasty place if they had links.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of how much sketchy stuff is on Instagram now. You throw in swipe down to click the link, and just it could get out of control.
Yeah.
Um,
You think so?
I think so.
Right.
I mean, why else would they not have links so easily?
What I'm thinking is maybe they just want to maintain people on their platform.
Yeah, I mean, they're owned by Facebook, so that makes sense, right?
Right.
Don't
So
leave us. Oh, you want to watch this YouTube video?
Exactly.
It's a Facebook video now.
Yeah, they understand that that putting people are going to mostly put YouTube links on there on the description and all that stuff, which is going to send them to YouTube.
Right.
Either way, the swipe up feature on the stories is essentially the same thing. We're still on their platform watching YouTube from their platform. Maybe if they get a license to do the same thing with the descriptions, I don't know how that works, but
they're going to have to do something if they want us creators to go over there.
Oh yeah,
because we're all looking at our Amazon affiliate accounts being like, nope.
nothing is coming from Instagram.
And I wonder if YouTube's going to do something with Amazon. They're doing it with Teespring. You probably saw the t-shirt stuff.
Okay.
The merch. They partnered up with Teespring. I wonder if they'll do more integrations like that. Twitch is starting to do it too, where you can like set up custom deals with sponsors and things, where underneath the video, instead of just whatever Google put there for an ad, you can actually kind of like, all right, there's my merch. And I wonder if they're going to do something with Amazon someday.
Oh, I saw that.
That would be pretty insane if I, as a YouTube creator, have the cameras I'm just talking about, as
especially
big
for a platform like yours,
and it's my affiliate link.
Oh yeah,
that could be interesting. Even if they only did it for like people with X amount of hundreds of thousands and up, I think that would seriously keep a lot of people on YouTube.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that, especially for a platform like yours, that is constant with gear reviews and all that, that's actually extremely beneficial. So Kevin Honorness is asking, can you only swipe up if you're on their business account? So yes, I think, and also I think you have to have a minimum of 10,000 followers. Don't worry, Kevin, I'll give you a shout out soon. So anyways, I think this was a great episode. It's been a very long episode.
Long one,
we can easily get lost in the tech of the entire industry, which is
never ending.
Never ending. As we, all these cameras always coming out. There's always going to be something to post about, to talk about, to review, the whole 9 yards. Caleb, thanks so much for joining us here, man. This was a lot of fun chatting it up. Where can we've said it so many times, you can go check out all your stuff at DSLRvideoshooter.com. On YouTube, it's also DSLR Video Shooter. That's your main source.
Yeah, that's my main youtube.com/DSLR Video Shooter. That's
all that
stuff. My tent posted most of the time.
Nice. Yeah, all that stuff's going to be posted on the show notes for this episode over at iFilmmakerpodcast.com, linking all that stuff on that part, which, by the way, we have a new website for iFilmmaker Podcast. Check that out. Also, don't forget Jersey Filmmakers over on YouTube, and he's putting out some great content as well. Thank you so much for joining us live, everyone that was on this chat. Kevin Otterness, Fountain, Jordan, Brandon Fountain, Jordan Kennedy,
a lot of people,
Hot Rod Hippie, all you guys. Thanks so much for being here. Twisted Art Productions. Thanks so much for being here, for joining us live on this episode. It was a very, very fun one. And don't forget to get subscribed over at the iFilmmaker Podcast YouTube channel and catch us live on the next one. So, all right, until the next one. Mr. Saratelli, Caleb, thanks for being on.
Later, fellas.
Thanks for having me on. It's awesome.
All right.